All right, how's it going, y'all? So today, this is going to be a very different video than the videos I normally produce because it's going to be focused on my video production workflow. How I create the videos from all the way from shooting, like what we're doing right now, my microphone, my camera, everything, all the way to uploading it to YouTube and creating thumbnails and everything like that. And I think it's actually very efficient. I'm not saying they're phenomenal quality or anything, but I really like to think that the production value has really risen throughout the past few years. And more importantly, in a lot of ways, especially for me who was doing this as a side business, I was able to do that very efficiently without actually adding a ton of work because I've got everything set up to be very automated and very consistent. And so you don't spend a ton of time just clicking buttons for the exact same thing over and over and over again. Instead, it's all set up pretty efficiently. So first off, I want to kind of show everything here. So that is my camera that's facing me. And we look up right above my face is the microphone that goes into a video recorder right there. Don't know if you probably lost that audio, but that is the overall setup of the studio with my massive studio light right there. Then I've got my laptop right here and the desktop just behind me. So that is what the overall kind of studio looks like. It's really just my desk and it allows me to be very efficient. And so one thing about this is every single time I record, I always have at least 3 files: audio, video, and screen recording. And so I have to make sure those are all synced and put together very efficiently and very nicely. I have every single one of the devices recording to its own medium. And so the camera records to an internal SD card, same thing with my audio recorder, and then the laptop just records to itself. I actually just use standard QuickTime for my screen recording on macOS, and in my experience, it's actually probably one of the more stable, easy, and clean video outputs that I've seen. And so I've just kept using it. I've never really had a problem with it. I've maybe had to re-record something once or twice because a recording failed, but considering how we've got 100 plus videos, that's a pretty good ratio. I'll also leave a link to the camera, microphones, and everything like that down in the description below for everything I remember and can find. Nothing's too specific here. The probably most important thing is my giant softbox right here, just because it really helps with lighting quite well. And I really do like this microphone because I don't have to wear a lavalier. And I feel like it's got a much more full actual like audio versus whenever I was wearing a lavalier, I kind of sound like a chipmunk just because they don't record the full audio spectrum, I feel like, as well. I actually feel like this microphone makes my voice sound very good. And I actually do 0 audio processing at the end. So it's just what's coming out of the mic just sounds very good. We're going to pretend like I just sound that good all the time. Okay, so another really key component to my video production workflow is the fact that my wife, Katie, is now the editor for all of these videos. She has been for about probably 2 months now. As you can see, they've gotten a lot better and they're not nearly as terrible. She actually sometimes completely re-edits entire sections by moving stuff around to make it flow better. It is way better if you've noticed that things are a lot more clear now. That you can thank Katie for that. But that is one difficult thing. Luckily, I have been editing off of a NAS for a very long time, and that is really the center to the entire workflow. So I have a custom built TrueNAS box upstairs that has 16 SSDs in there, and it is insanely fast. And that's what I use for video editing. Everything goes on there, gets edited, and so that way everybody's got a really fast connection to it, and we can all be editing off it and literally not notice a performance difference between one device on it and 4 devices pulling from it. It makes it very fast to run with. It also allows us to swap between devices really quickly and easily. So as soon as I'm done filming here, I just let Katie know, and she can immediately start editing up there, all on different devices. As long as we're just closed out and nobody's got the same project open twice, everything's fine. If you try to open the same project twice, you just get a warning that says, hey, somebody else has this open. Okay, so now I've kind of gone over that overview of where everything is stored and kind of the gist of the workflow. I want to talk about how everything works as soon as we're done filming. Because filming is the easy part. You basically just hit record on everything. I've got all the settings preset and ready to go. Everything should pretty much just be a plug and play, make sure I'm in frame, and sometimes I move around the frame slightly just so that a product can be in shot and whatever. So as soon as we're done filming, the first thing I do is I take the camera SD card out and I plug it into my desktop right here. And I also take the SD card out of the audio recorder and plug it to my laptop. Kind of confusing. So that way I can just do both copies at once. Then what I'll do is I'll open up Edit right here. So Edit is that SSD volume over a 10 gig connection. my laptop right now is hooked up over 2.5 gigabit, which is easily fast enough for editing. And so as soon as we've been done filming and we put in the cards, the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to open up Edit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate the template folder. So this template folder is exactly what it sounds like. It is a template for our project. So I would then name it whatever this is. So this video is going to be the SpaceRex video workflow, how I produce the videos. So I would name it that. I would copy that name and I would come in here, and this is part of the template. So by duplicating that template folder, I have set up everything that I need. And so this just helps us get up and running a lot faster. Right here is a new Final Cut Pro bundle. So I'm just going to rename it to the exact same thing. And this is the Final Cut Pro project. It's also given us a media folder where we're going to dump in all the media. And if we've got any B-roll, we'll stick it in there. And you'll also see that we've got this for thumb and the thumb.psd that I will talk about later. But the first thing I would do is I would just copy over all the files into this media folder. And so we're just going to fast forward through that, and we're going to do the video that I just shot, Synology features I use to run my business, and we'll look at how that works. So if we go into media, we'll see I've got 3 different files in here. This right here is my headshot. This is the camera feed. Then this right here is the screen recording directly out of this MacBook. Then this is the audio recording directly out of the Zoom H6, I think. So now I will copy all the files in there, and then we'll just rename the Final Cut Pro project to whatever it is. And now we'll just go ahead and double click on it. So part of the reason why I really like having that template is that template Final Cut Pro project already has everything kind of laid out and ready for us. It starts off with this main video, and it's already got a project in here that is the right resolution and frame rate that we export to. And so we just need to update the name. And now that's set up. The next thing I would do is I would drag this media folder into raw video. I'm not going to do that because I've already done it. And what that'll do is that will automatically import everything that is in media. I'm not going to go into it too in depth here, but there's 2 different ways you can store files in Final Cut Pro. You can either store them in the library or just keep them where they are. That is this choice right here. For me, I leave files in place now because we're working off of a video editing file server, and that way we don't have to kind of duplicate files and everything like that. So I always choose leave files in place. The one annoying thing is now we have to reorder things sometimes. The other thing I always do upon import is create optimized media and proxy media. The reason we do optimized media is we do a lot of multicam stuff. I'm going to show that here. And so having the optimized media helps everything run a lot faster and really reduces export times, which is nice. And finally, creating the proxy media is very quick and allows us to video edit over Wi-Fi, which is very nice. Or if we're going to be going to a coffee shop or something, we can just bring the proxies with us. And that way it's like a 5 gig file versus a 500 gig file. Probably overkill in all honesty, but it is very nice and is a great thing to have for the workflow and makes it easier. And the encoding of optimized and proxy media does not take too long with these machines. So essentially what that means is as soon as I've imported it, we have all the files right here. But you can see first off, this video does not look like the video you're seeing on screen right now because it has not been graded. The audio also sucks because it's just the audio out of camera. And so now this is where the next step comes in. And this is the video editing workflow when it comes to actually having very consistent, very easy to reproduce and change videos that are quick and easy for Katie and I to do. This is probably where I feel best about how efficient we are because it really makes this super fast. So the first thing we need to do is get the head and the audio synced up. So all I need to do in Final Cut, it's very easy, is I'm going to select the audio file and the video recording, and I'm just going to set them up as a synchronized clip. So I'm just going to sync them. And what this is going to do is it's just going to look at the audio waveforms for the video file and the audio file and match them up. So that way they all get synced automatically and you don't have to really look through for the clap and make sure everything syncs off that. Instead, Final Cut Pro automatically does that. though I always do give a snap during a video just in case I ever have to do it manually. So now it's gone ahead and synchronized those two clips, and we can see that the audio lines up well. So the next step we're actually going to do, and I'm actually going to not listen to audio just so we don't have audio skimming on. The next step we need to do is we are actually going to go ahead and remove the audio out of this clip right here, because we don't care about the camera audio anymore. We are only going to care about the good audio from the zoom. So I'm just going to select that clip and remove the audio, and then just bring the levels up for the zoom clip. And that's actually pretty much all the audio processing I do. Sometimes I do voice isolation, and that's pretty much it. But now we've got these two synchronized, but you can still see color's pretty poor. It's non-existent, it's not very good. So the next thing we need to go ahead and do is add that good color in, and that's where we've just got a preset. So we're going to scroll down to the ZZ custom folder, and we've got my R7 file. So if you don't know anything about log footage, I shoot in a log footage, which means you basically have to have a LUT on there to make it look good for YouTube and everything like that. And I also have some other automatic things that go in there. I add a little bit of a vignette, a little bit of a sharpen, and play with the color a little bit. This is just a great starting place for me, and it drags in. And as you can see, it looks pretty much what is going to be shot there. Overall, I don't have to touch too much there. All right, so now we've got the video done. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select both these clips and create a new compound clip. I use everything in compound clips because compound clips in Final Cut Pro automatically update. So if at the end of the video I'm like, I'm a little bright, I want to turn it down a little bit, I can do that and it's going to update for the entire video rather than me having to recut it or anything like that. And so it's really nice to have. So after I've done that, I always just create a new compound clip called head and audio. And the reason I do that is this synchronized clip right here will not automatically update like the compound clip will. So the synchronization clip is only used to get the two clips in line, and then I create a compound clip after that. So now I can just go ahead and delete the synchronized clip because head and audio has everything I want in there. All right, so right there, that is now head and audio, and it is set up. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I want to build the view with the screen recording. So this is that view you're often used to seeing, and I'm actually pretty sure you're seeing it right now, where in the lower right hand corner is my head, and then everywhere else is the actual screen. So to do that, what I do is I select both of them and I just synchronize it one more time. So now I'm getting head and audio synced up with my laptop video feed. And so now that is created. So we now have the two feeds all set up and syncing, but as you can see, it's kind of useless because they're out of the wrong order and everything like that. We are once again going to remove out the audio from the screen recording just because we don't need it. And now we're going to just reorder them because my head needs to be above the screen. So I just move them around. Sometimes I have to zoom in. The important thing is to make sure that the sync is not screwed up. And so I can make sure that those are the same. And then I often will just double check and make sure the waveforms still line up after I've moved it. Because if they haven't, everything's broken. I'd have to re-edit the video or really spend some time doing it because the cuts wouldn't line up. So now we've got the screen where it needs to be, but now my head is hiding it. So that's where I've got more of these presets here, and Katie's also got the exact same presets. So this is where we've got our different circle options. Let's see. We need to clean these up. Some of them are ovals, but we've got our circle in lower right hand corner. I'll leave that for now. And then I also, if you look at the top of the screen, you see how there's this black bar right here. I just cut that out with this matte cut one to bring out the thing. And now we can go ahead and move everything right into place where we want it to go. Probably need to update those to make them nicer. But as you can see right there, this is that view that you're used to. And the other very nice thing is because we're using this compound clip setup, if I say, you know, I really wish my head was a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, then that's not a big deal because I can update it later on. And so now we've got this pretty much where we want it. We're gonna go ahead and just add it as a compound clip, just like we did last time. This one I always call with screen. and I can delete the synchronized clip. The last thing I always add is I'm going to duplicate this with screen, and I'm going to call it Z, no head. And so this is the one I use where sometimes if I'm talking about something that's in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and my head would be in the way, we can cut to this one that just is still my voice, but my head is gone. So the way I do that is I just go in, it's the exact same thing as with screen, except I go to the head and audio clip and I just make the opacity 0. So I disappear. So now I've got my 3 clips that you have often seen. The reason I name it Z is so that way it sorts it to the bottom and it's number 3. That's all. So now I've got my 3 clips that compose pretty much all of SpaceRex videos. I now want to easily be able to sync these up and go in between them. So I do what's called a multicam clip. So I'm just going to select them and say new multicam clip. I'm going to call it main video, get the frame rate right, and use audio for synchronization. They all actually have identical audio because the audio is all coming directly off of that mic recording. So syncing them up is pretty quick, as you just saw right there. And so now main video is basically my 3 different feeds that you're used to seeing that I can just switch between. And the reason it's Z is so that way it always ends up on the bottom. All right, so this is the secret sauce to how we're able to kind of edit all this stuff so quickly, is we basically end up with 3 virtual video feeds that we can switch between whenever we're editing. All I need to do is open up this right here, and I just drag main video directly into it. And just like that, we are able to edit. I'm going to go ahead and just show you one really useful thing, and I'm going to pull up the multicam viewer. So this is what we can do when we're video editing. All right, so we're just going to say that was me trying to do the intro a few times, me getting sad, all that great stuff. And so let's just cut into like right here. Say I start talking about something on my computer screen. All I hit is 2, and now we've switched to that computer screen view, and we can just add a quick, easy transition to it to make it really nice and seamless. This is what you've seen all the time in these videos, is we just go in, I start talking about it, I get that great view, and that was as simple as it was. There's nothing hard about that. I didn't have to go in and do this. And because it's all in a compound clip, if I go, you know, I wish my head was bigger or I wish my head was smaller, I just update it and it updates everywhere. I can do all my edits, everything, just using the number keys and switching in between these views. And it means that video editing is so much easier for stuff that could be very difficult. It makes it pretty easy. Pretty much all we have to do is cut out the flubs and maybe reorder some stuff. Thanks, Katie. And what's left is the video. And so we're able to do it very fast and very efficiently because everything is set up pretty much automatically. And because we're using those compound clips, at the end of the video, we can say, let me update all these videos to a different color. Or at this time, the light was coming into the office a lot brighter. So let's dim the video slightly so it stays the same brightness overall. We can do that really easily without having to sync all these changes to 800 different video clips, which is really, really, really nice. And so everything you've seen right here is basically what I was doing in the past and now Katie takes care of. She takes care of pretty much editing the video and getting it through and seamless. And so then what happens is we have a board that we have all of our projects in, and I then go, okay, I do one last review of the video, add any B-roll or just anything that makes sense. Sometimes I have to add like a clarification text down below, or say I kind of say the wrong thing and have to re-edit around that to make it actually correct. And so that is what I do. I then go ahead and export it, and we actually upload it to YouTube using a virtual machine. Basically, we just have a virtual machine that we remote into that is just running in the box upstairs that is running Windows that I can just easily upload to YouTube from. The reason I do that is we have very poor upload speed here in Raleigh right now. And so it takes a while. So it's nice just being able to upload from one box. And so if I want to close my Safari window on my computer and shut it down, my upload does not get canceled. The other thing I do is for the thumbnails, we go ahead and we select some clips and we basically just export them into that folder that is thumb. After that, when we're ready to make a thumbnail, we just open up this thumb.psd, which already has the resolutions and everything set up for it. And we can just drag it in and make the thumbnail. So that's pretty much the gist of this. I really try to make sure all this stuff is as efficient as possible, just because we're producing right now 2 videos a week and we're not a video production house. We have a lot more time than we did back in the day, but keeping everything efficient allows us to do this. And I think it really helps make the quality a lot better because you only have so many hours you can put into it. And by being really efficient when you're actually video editing, it gives us a lot more time to make a better product overall. And I think we've gotten a lot better because of this. We do not have to spend nearly as much time working on editing videos. We've got it really well down. I used to be doing a lot of this stuff manually, but now because of this automation, we can run through it way, way, way faster. Original SpaceRex videos almost never had me switching between head and screen because it took so long. I was literally making a transition where my head would shrink into an oval in the lower right-hand corner. And now it takes half a second for me to apply that transition and get those 2 different views because of those compound clips and using multicam editing. All right, and so now, before we finish this video, I want to talk about what happens after a video is done being video edited and has been uploaded to YouTube and we are done with it. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go back to the project once it's done. And I'm basically going to delete all my render files by coming in here and just hitting delete generated library files and deleting all this stuff. This drastically reduces the file size down to maybe 40 or 50 or 100 gigs, which is very nice, way easier to use. And then what I'm going to do is I actually have this old videos section right here that stores all of our old videos. So we just come into edit and I just copy them on over there. This old videos is on hard drives. And so I dump them over there, and then as time goes on, we rename it to the day it came out. And that way it's very easily to sort through and grab. We almost never go back to this, but I want to save these in case I ever build a site or anything. I want to post them all higher quality than what YouTube compression will do. I want to have the originals for everything. Even if it is a compressed file, it's still going to be much better than what I could get off of YouTube. So I do try to save everything, though as time goes on, I delete more and more of it till I'm just left with a thumbnail and the actual final video that was uploaded to YouTube, just from a space saving measure. And so that's kind of the archival workflow. I know that anything that's in here can be pretty much removed. I may one day put them on tape just because I very rarely access them, but by having them in their own section, it's very easy for me to know exactly what state everything is in. All right, well, that's going to be it for this. That was the full video production workflow. It's pretty straightforward for us, and I really think that by being more efficient, especially the NAS helps a ton. By being more efficient, we're able to do much better videos in a much shorter amount of time. And we can go in between and I can immediately open up her project and say, okay, yeah, let's do this tweak this week, without walking up and down stairs with a bunch of external hard drives and copying files back and forth. We never have to copy anything because everything is just stored on the NAS. We both have full, really fast local access to it. If you want to hire me for a project, there's a link for that down in the description below, and have a good one. Bye.